Now, if you've been a part of the channel and part of the community for the longest time, ever since the OG X2 Mini, it wouldn't be a surprise that you see three of them on the table right now. This is the V1 Founders Edition X2 Mini. Used to be green, custom painted blue. Then you have the X2 V2 Mini, which is the Demon Slayer collab, and the release that just released today, the Crazylight X2. And this thing is crazy good, and well, it is crazy light. Starting off with the V1 and the V2, these guys are 52 grams, plus or minus a few grams depending on the skates that you use, while the Crazylight is 35. Yes, this solid mouse shell is 35 grams plus or minus a few grams depending on the skates you use. Now, Pulsar decided, hey, we're actually going to go into more details. So the PCB on the Crazylight is much smaller than the V1 and the V2, which attributes to the weight reduction, but they've also changed the bottom skate design. So when you look at the other X2 minis, you have a narrow kind of skate design versus now with the Crazylight X2 Mini has a much larger skate profile. And I'll tell you right now that the stock skates on the Crazylight actually felt very good. The only reason why I took them off was because the top of the skate actually had a little bit of an indent to it, making the mouse kind of tilt in one direction whenever I would use it, basically. So I removed them, put on the dots, but when you do pick up the Crazylight, you're going to be getting the stock skates, which are good. They're smooth. They don't have a weird tug or stickiness to them, especially on glass. And they also come in with their black dot skates, which are a more control, kind of like a Obsidian Pro style kind of black skate. Has that similar kind of approach to it. So you get a nice smooth open skate, plus they're controlled oriented dots with this mouse when you pick it up, which is fantastic. But the larger skate design, before you go crazy, oh, why did they change that? You can still use the original skates. They still fit in this profile here. So if you have extras laying around, you can still use them if you want to. When it comes down to the coating on this mouse has been fantastic. I mean, it has a nice soft feel to it, almost similar to the, let me see, it actually has a more softer touch to it than the Demon Slayer. It's almost like a, not like a, it's like a chalkier. It's more of like a smooth kind of feeling coating, but this coating hasn't gotten like sticky. It hasn't gotten like slimy or oily throughout the hours of me using this. This coating has been great. It's fantastic. There's no issues with it. I love it. Didn't change over the course of 8+ hours throughout the night, and that's what I like. When it comes down to the clicks, side buttons, main buttons, Pulsar's actually introduced with this mouse their very own Pulsar optical switches. Now the optical switches here, I'm not too exactly sure what optical switches they're using. They're labeled as the Pulsar switches, but the way they feel they're not as soft, and they're not as soft as the Cal opticals in the X3, and they're not as soft as the Omrons, but they're also not tense. These optical switches are very nice. It's like a combination of a Cal and an Omron put together, and they feel very, very good. With clicking in game, you get that noticeable tactile feedback on your finger as you click. So it gives you kind of like a better in my opinion, it gives you like a more like immersed kind of feel when you're clicking, when you're in like a shooter. It feels very, very good. And the responsiveness of this Switch honestly feels more responsive than a lot of mice on the market right now. They feel very, very quick. The side buttons are nice and crisp. There's no mush at all. There's virtually no free travel, which is fantastic. And there's no click grind. There's no rattle. There's nothing crazy going on with this mouse. And the structure on this mouse is built like a tank. For a 35-gram mouse to come in and just feel as solid as this does and has the kind of QC that this Crazylight has is insane. People will say it's pretty crazy because Pulsar doesn't have a huge reputation for the click QCs and stuff like that, but I think these switches are perfect for this mouse. Nice and spammable, crispy, a good tactile feedback every time you click. It's fantastic. We've talked about the switches, the clicks, but also the scroll wheels using their Pulsar encoder, and you can even see each individual step, and when you place your finger on the side, you don't get any accidental kind of scrolls. This has a nice smooth but tactile kind of feel, and the click of it is nice and spammable too. Nice and open, actually has like a little hollow sound when you click. Feels very, very good. Everything about this mouse is, in my opinion, just perfect. The coating, the switches, the weight, even the battery life. So I've been using this mouse on 4K for the last few days. I think I've only charged it once over the course of, I would say, three and a half days, but a total of, I'm gonna have to say 8. One day I've used it for about 12 hours, 8 hours, and about 7-ish hours the last day. And I've only had the charge this mouse once, and I've been using it on pretty much 4K. I think I've stepped down to 2K, but we'll even take a look into the software itself too. Kind of get you an idea of what you can change, everything like that. So when it comes down to the software, you got your mouse here, and you have everything that you can change for it. You got your main, button assignment, performance, macros. It's sitting at 35%, which, I mean, I haven't charged it in a minute. The running at 4K, you have 1mm, 2mm, ripple control. You have all the same kind of changes you can make on the mouse itself. You have the debounce time. I always keep mine at 2, which, I mean, you can use 0 because you're using opticals. They shouldn't double click, so I'll even down that too. You got your motion sync, you got your auto sleep, everything like that. So you got the basics of the basics in the software, and there you go. So when it comes down to the X2, the Crazylight X2, there's nothing I would change with this mouse. There's nothing that needs to be changed with this mouse. I just want to see some badass colorways. So if you liked the review, if you do want to pick up the Crazylight, if you want to support the channel, go for it. I will leave my link in the description below. But if you're somebody that has small hands, I highly recommend this shape because it's something that is so safe for small hands that you can use any grip for. And, well, we got some other mice releasing from Pulsar later on that we'll probably be taking a look at too. So without further ado, we will see you around for the next review. And if you pick up the Crazylight, comment below. If you use my link, hit that sub button, hit that like, and we'll see you for the next one. Love you guys. Rise up. God bless.